Good morning and welcome to Behind the Screen. I am JM, and this is a show where we hang out, we talk about beauty, truth, goodness, and beauty. This is a show where we look at board games, card games, role playing games, things that inspire us to be better gamers, better GMs, better people. Good morning to everyone in the chat today. Hello to Grom. Nope, got an echo going. Sorry. There we go. Good morning to Grum and to DM James and to Tink. It's good to have you all here. Padre, good to see you as well. I have a type when it comes to gaming. I like robust rules that I can dig into, that I can learn, I can explore, and I can set up a campaign that's going to last in my head for years. Now, whether the campaign actually turns into a grand campaign or lasts as long as I would hope, these things I don't really have control over. But that's the meat of where I'm at. So, I mean, right, games like Castles and Crusades, Hyperborea, just ordered the 2025 update for these, and I can't wait to see what Jeffrey Tolinian did. I know he just incorporated the errata, but also I like the color change on the logo on the new books. Obviously, games produced by Autark, like this tome, the Axe 2, Axe Imperial Imprint, revised rulebook, or Ascendant. These are games that I like and I love. Oh, hello, Jason. I've had some friends, though, point out that I should really check out this smaller game. And I've come to it late. I've come to it by a roundabout way. Unless you've been under a rock in role-playing games, you've probably heard of Shadowdark. And so a big shout out and thanks to DM James, who constantly was talking this up to me, Chris Valentine, constantly talking this up to me, JohnDoom, and Tinker Hellraiser. All of you were saying, hey, you should really check this out. And I read it when it came out, and I was like, that's cool, but I have my OSR fix. I'm good. Chris, good to see you this morning, buddy. It has been a time. And yes, DM James, it is. It's based off 5e. Kelsey Dion did an amazing job with the first Kickstarter. I'm very, very excited for the Western Reaches books that are coming out. I have poured over all of her zines, the Cursed Scrolls. I have run 2 sessions of it now. But still, I was like, man, I don't really know if this is something I would be interested in before I ran it. And a lot of friends whose opinions in gaming I trust. DM James, JohnDoom, Chris Valentine, Tink, all of these people saying, hey, you should check this out. Yes, and from everything I can tell, Kelsey is a wonderful person. I've watched interviews with her. I've seen her interact with people at conventions. I know people like you, James, who have interacted with her. She seems like a truly awesome person. But it really wasn't until I got this book, The Shucked Oyster, by the guys over at Black Lodge Games, which, if you haven't checked out my interview with them, please do so. It was an amazing Beyond the Table, and I really hope to have them back on to talk more gaming philosophy with them. Jason, you said that Shadowdark is your second favorite rules for OSR style after Dragonbane. I get the preference for skill over class level games, but there's something archetypal about a class level game. There's something that taps into Jungian archetypes and Campbellian heroes' journeys. And so from all of this, I decided to actually give it a solid go, if you will. And after reading and looking through it, first of all, Arcane Library puts out an amazing product. If you haven't checked out Shadowdark, please go do so. Give it a fair shake. I think you will find it runs smoother and is a far more interesting design game than I gave it credit for the first time I came across it. But I'm really here to talk about the third-party content, because Kelsey and Arcane Library created a very generous gaming license. It allowed for the production of such amazing supplements like the Shucked Oyster. From there, I found Hellmarch, this great, and I don't know if he's local or if he was just at North Texas RPG Con, but this guy who loves chainmail and put out a more robust redo of the chainmail rules, put out Hellmarch for Shadowdark, which is a mass combat and a way to use scaling and ratios to allow you to take your RPG characters and throw them into the middle of war and still resolve it in a very Shadowdark or OSR quick and easy way, while maintaining the scale and the deadliness, if you will, both of the player characters, a la Chainmail, where essentially every hit die was you were as good as another fighter on the field, to without getting bogged down into, hey, let's go play battle system or use the birthright card combat. Or as I've done before, let's play a game of Oathmark to figure out, or Domains at War to use Axe to figure out kind of the, how this battle is going to go. If you enjoy mass combat, that is a great third-party supplement. Then there is a designer who goes by Chubby Funster online. I believe his actual name is Greg Christopher. I picked this up, Warlords of Gavardia. It is for Acts 2, and it is an entire kingdom laid out with everything you would need to... So instead of setting up your own setting, you can... It's got all the charts, it's got all the domain gold values, the economic modifiers from the judges' journals, all put together. And I really enjoyed this book. Well, it turns out he too is making Shadowdark stuff. He did Shadow Sun, which is a Dark Sun conversion. Also kind of the same format as that's the Shadowdark book, so they sit quite nicely on your shelf. And then this one was amazing. He did Shadowrim, inspired by the greatest computer RPG of all time, at least right here. And so, here's the thing. Rules lighter, because I wouldn't call Shadowdark rules light. It is a robust game, and what we're seeing is a principle that Alexander McCrease and I talked about at our Beyond the Table, that a rules lighter game, something that requires more rulings, which is a very OSR thing, right? Rulings over rules, eventually develops new rules to fill in the gaps. And that's what we're seeing with Shadowdark. We're seeing people go, I want mass combat. I want more random encounters, carousing tables, hexploration rules. We're seeing these expand to fill the space. And that means people are actually out there playing Shadowdark. And that's awesome to me. That's beautiful. It means somebody's actually engaging with this and not just interacting in sort of a Gnostic, sort of high intellectual level where they've not actually played the game, but they're going to design for it. No, these are people who are clearly engaging with the rule set Kelsey has put together. And Kelsey has said on record at various in various interviews, there are parts of the design process that she doesn't really want to engage with. She made the rule set as she likes to play it, but the beauty of seeing this out in the wild is seeing things like Hellmarch come out, so that if you want mass combat in your Shadowdark game, you are able to engage with it. And I think that is where we are seeing something beautiful happening in the Shadowdark community. These are people who are actively engaging. In the same way that I love my job with Pinnacle, because my job at Pinnacle allows me to interact with people who are actually playing Savage Worlds and are going, hey, here's something that I see that is missing and I want to add to it. The swag community, the ace community, the fan community, they're amazing. So I wanted to talk about these supplements, and I wanted to talk a little bit about Shadowdark. Not in a game review setting, not in a high level kind of, here's my dissection of the Shadowdark rules system. You can find that in a lot of places online. And there are some things that I really enjoy mechanically about Shadowdark. I love the fact that spellcasting is not only a die roll for the players to make, but also shifts the way spells work from I cast the spell, and if you roll well, I get disappointed. Right? A save for half damage or a save to negate. To there are no saves. All of the dice rolling is now a activation roll, essentially, which makes it far more like an attack roll for everyone else on the player side. I love that mechanic. I enjoy the procedural elements of turns out of combat. I haven't quite dialed in my thoughts on the light timer yet, but we played 2 games of it, and it was fun. Let's see here. I don't know that the one Mike Shea house rule that I used, John. Good morning, John. I hope you're enjoying California. Was you can't lose a spell. So in Shadowdark, there are no spell slots. It's much like a lot like Dungeon Crawl Classics. If you cast the spell and you succeed, then you get to cast the spell again. It's not until you fail the spell that you lose it till you rest. I like Mike Shea's rule that you can't lose a spell until you've actually successfully cast it at least once. That feels fun, while not breakable, because you're still not guaranteed that the spell will go off. You're just guaranteed that you won't lose it until it's gone off at least once. But that's a great channel to go investigate and talk about later. I'm actually going to do a video here soon on other YouTube channels about gaming that speak to me in the either truth, goodness, or beauty mindset. So before I go any further, let's take a look at the chat, see what you guys are saying. All right, when did I last leave off? All right, DM James did a live stream of Shadowdark on the Norse Foundry channel. I do remember you talking about that. He very graciously shared an awesome map for one of her one-card adventures. Padre said I should look at it. I haven't found a 5e game that I really like. And here's the thing, Savage Worlds does what it does really, really well. As does Shadowdark. If you like level and class games and you want something that feels very familiar to anyone who's playing 5th edition, but also has more of a gritty old school feel, I don't know how well it would work for a grand campaign or a very long-term campaign. It's only 10 levels. Although, apparently now, even Professor Dungeon Master's Deathbringer RPG is now going to be based off Shadowdark and will expand you out to level 20. So, it could be cool. Grom says, I've looked at Shadowdark, but none of the third-party content. So far, I've been underwhelmed, but I'm having a knee-jerk anti-fantasy reactions lately. So, and here's the thing. When I first looked at Shadowdark, I had also just picked up Hyperborea, and I also just got the initial rule book for Acts 2. So I was like, I don't want a rule, like a more stripped down OSR game. I want something that I can dig my teeth into and run for years. But then I was also challenged to say, hey, what would it look like if I were to take one of my own settings and convert it to Shadowdark? Because there's a lot of the same principles in Shadowdark that exist in Jackals and the Zaharets. Law versus chaos. the randomness of magic and the penance that is required, the importance of light and encumbrance. These are all things that have strong parallels to each other. And so I figured if I was going to try Shadowdark, I was going to try it in the Zaharets and see how it works. And I've now run 2 playtests of a Shadows Under the War Road, if you will, version of Shadowdark, and I gotta say it was fun. I ran it for 2 groups, one that was very familiar with Clash and Jackals, and they all had fun, and one who was unfamiliar with Clash. They played once and the world of Jackals, and they were like, it was easier for me to absorb the lore of Jackals because the rule set was so familiar, which was awesome. All right, let's see here. DM James says, you feel like Kelsey was able to add into it with Chisterman, and I do know that you hate 5e with a passion. She did something you thought would be impossible. Yeah. Let's see here. Shadowdark is visceral. It is, and I like the death timer feels much more satisfying just from a play style than death saves. Yes, you have a 5% chance of like waking up and having 1 hit point in the middle of the fight. But otherwise you have a... Oh, I also use the hidden D4 timer for deaths. For the death timer, John, that Mike Shea uses, where you know that you have between 1 and 4 rounds until a character bleeds out. And then based off the descriptions of the wounds, you as the rest of the players have to decide, do I take the turn to attack, or do I try to heal the person who's down? Yes, the encumbrance rules are nice as well and very simple. Essentially, a character can hold a number of items in their pack equal to their strength score or 10, whichever is higher. And that's it. And everything takes 1 slot. Some things take 2 slots, but like if you want 5 torches, because you want to be able to stay in the dungeon for at least 5 hours, that's 5 of your 10 slots holding torches. Now, the advantage is, as you move through the dungeon, you're going to eat rations, you're going to drop, use torches, and so those slots are going to fill up, but there is a push and pull, how far can we go into the dungeon, because we have to make our way out. We have to have enough resources to go at least as far back as we went in. Padres, it would be interesting to see. And the thing is when you actually look at Shadowdark, the design simplicity is very useful and intriguing. The conversion of spells is not a massive thing. Most of the spells are, if they're 30 words, I would be surprised. So, for example, this is the Shadow Sun book, and we've got some psionic powers. And the psionic powers are, all right, block. Duration as long as you focus, range self. Each round you can stop a number of projectiles fired or thrown in your direction equal to your level. They lose momentum and fall harmlessly to the ground. That's the spell. And so yes, it does require some rulings. But what you'll find is in games like this, the more you make rulings, they quickly become rules, and you're going to start developing your own thing. Praetorian, I really think you would dig Shadow Sun. I was floored at how good Shadow Rim was. I love Skyrim, even to the fact that this guy put in your talent trees are based off of the astrological sign that you associate with, which is pretty cool. All right, so Padre says you've run that world in both 3. Ooh, in an Exalted. That's interesting. So John, it is based off XP, but don't forget it's also based off like uncovering secrets and discovering, making oaths and stuff like that. And that was what was also something that aligns well with Jackals, is the idea that things like oaths and secrets also provide experience points. I like that. I mean, that's a huge mechanic in Jackals, the idea of ancient lore being something you go out and you have to recover to help make civilization better. I have not seen Shadowdark. I was actually just talking with Tink about Morkborg and how it seems, at least from the number of games that are being played, that Pirate Borg is the clear Borg winner, if you will. But that Vashgrim, I don't know, have you seen Vashgrim, James? It is a Morkborg sci-fi game that is... The gentleman who does Vashgrim is always at Gamehole Con, and that guy, man, he has an aesthetic, and he leans heavily into it, and it is wonderful. I will introduce you at Gamehole Con. I think you would love it. It is space horror, which I know that you are a huge fan of. Yes, and he definitely is producing neon skateboards for himself, and then anyone else who would want a Vashgrim board, which is just spectacular. Yes, JohnDoom, it is a callback to an older style of gaming. It's a callback to the idea that in pushing back chaos, you are bringing these treasures out of the earth, and that is really what brings order to the land, but also what is the knowledge that you bring back from beneath the earth. So yes, there is no XP connected to monsters. However, there is XP for taking their stuff, and seeing as most monsters would not want you to take their stuff, do with that as you will. So anyway, that was my creating in the dark. Kudos to Arcane Library, not just for producing an amazing game, but for creating a game that is inspiring people to go out and create things. There are so few things in our world that are beautiful and inspire us to go out and make something. Most things that we do, we consume. We enjoy a beautiful book or a beautiful painting or a beautiful sunset. Yes, it may be a transcendent and sublime experience. But unless you are an artist and want to go back and paint what you saw, or draw what you saw, or sculpt what you saw, or if you're a writer who goes, hey, that book is great, but like, what if this happened? And when you go out and write something new, most of us leave our engagement with beauty at that. Engagement, that was awesome. Let's move on. I love the fact that this is clearly a game that not only caught lightning in a bottle, but the people who engage with it want to make something with it. That, whether you like Shadowdark or not, is something that I hope you can get behind and support and say, that is worthy, that is beautiful, because it is causing other people to create beautiful things. So if you're at all interested, I put links to only the Shadowdark stuff that we talked about today. The Shucked Oyster, the finest brothel adventure site that I've ever had the pleasure of reading or running. As I was told by the guys at Black Lodge Games, it was a Chad move putting this in my Palladium Fantasy game. If you're a fan of Skyrim or Dark Sun, these are 200, I think Dark Sun one's a little bit longer, 212 page supplements to give you everything you need to run a game inspired by these settings. And again, one of the beauties of Shadowdark is how easy it is to pick up and start running. I still am going to tend toward Axe, Hyperborea, Castles of Crusades, Ascendant, things that I know I'm going to mess up the rules, and I'm going to enjoy messing up the rules and learning them. And because there is something about the process of learning a deep or complex or comprehensive subject that is very rewarding to me. But that does not mean I do not see the beauty or the joy in something like this, nor does it mean that I may not contribute to the beauty and joy that I see in Shadowdark at some point. So that's it. That's our show for today. That is a look at creating in the dark. We'll be back next week, and we're going to talk about a lot of different things. Maybe it's because I'm approaching the start of my next trip around the sun, but I tend to wax philosophical a bit. We're going to talk about not having to tear down everything else just to make the thing you like look better, or for you to feel better about it. We're going to talk about that next week. And we're also going to talk about, again, other YouTube channels that I go to when I need to be recharged, because they focus on the joy and the beauty of gaming and not so much on whatever hot topic, clickbaity, rage baiting topics that are going around the internet of the day. There is joy and beauty to be found on the internet, and hopefully I can help point you towards some good channels that are doing great things. We're talking, there's going to be Savage Worlds channels, there's going to be wargaming channels, there's going to be just general gaming channels, all things that I think are worth your time. You'll come away with it going, that was a fun video that I just watched. And yes, DM James, including Knights of the Smith dinner table. Which brings me to my final little bit. If you're not following the Pinnacle channels, don't do it for me. Savage Universe is a lot of fun. I did have a JohnDoom on there last week as we were talking about Swagtember. But check out Knights of the Smith dinner table. They are actually doing several things officially-ish for PEG. They've got an amazing Necessary Evil campaign, Altered Morality. If you like superheroes, if you like supervillains, if you like comedy, if you like Ronnie messing things up in a spectacularly enjoyable fashion, go check out Altered Morality. But also, that's yes, tonight at 9 on all the places that are Pinnacle-y. But we also have the Pinnacle is going to be launching their next Deadlands Kickstarter on Tuesday the 9th. And that is going to be Deadlands Dark Ages. And I happen to know of one, possibly two groups that will be running actual plays. And you'll be able to see DM James rocking out the actual play for us on the 9th. We're going to get the timing knocked out here very soon, but it'll be in the newsletter. If you follow Pinnacle newsletter, you'll find out on Tuesday when DM James and the Knights of the Smith dinner table will be running their Dark Ages actual play in response to the launch of that campaign. So that's it. Until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, stay gaming. I am JM, and this is Behind the Screen, and I will see you all on Tuesday. Till then, have a good one, everybody.